Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thugged, aka White Boy Deep Voice, aka another racially ambiguous groiper. And I gotta be honest with you guys, so much is happening so quickly, and it is aggressive, to be honest with you. There's so many different little sidelines, so many big, broad stories, and it's been a lot to kind of wrap my head around. And I'm sure you guys are probably kind of reeling with this too, but I mean, let's be honest, is anybody really surprised that there is major fraud happening across the country? I think, no, I think nobody's shocked. Everybody knows a lot of this is kind of screwy. But yes, Christ is king, and I do appreciate the support, guys, especially everybody for being here. I am very close to hitting 20K. That's very exciting. Thank you for noticing. I appreciate that. And where to even start? Obviously, I think the biggest story right now is all of the Minnesota fraud, but it's not just the Minnesota fraud. It is the national Somalian fraud. And it is just mind-blowing what they're uncovering. Now, don't let this distract you from the fact that there are, because of this has basically sent a lot of people into a frenzy. And this frenzy has been kind of good and bad for multiple reasons. Now, one of the good things that's coming from this is, I think the obvious reaction to everything is everybody realizes that they see this and they go, oh, wait a minute. Nobody's doing anything. Wait a minute, you're telling me a random YouTuber is starting to do this, and this is the reason we're all reacting to one YouTuber going out and actually doing something? So this is kind of where a lot of the reactions are coming from. And it's funny because I think if you were to do this maybe months prior, or you were to do this a couple years ago, or any other kind of era of the Trump period, I think you would get the response, which would be, wow, Tim Walz is so bad. Wow, these Democrats. Wow. But that's not the reaction that we got. The reaction almost immediately from the actual MAGA crowd, or the conservatives at large, the broad kind of crowd, reacted, so what are you going to do about it? Okay. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do about all of the fraud then? It was the anger immediately circumvented Tim Walz. It's like, we get that. We completely understand Tim Walz. So what are you going to do about it, Cash? So what are you going to do about it, JD Vance? So what are you going to do about it? And I've been seeing these great posts from people like Drew Hernandez, which goes, man, what are we going to do about this? If only we had the House, the Senate, the White House, DHS, ICE, and he just listed off all of these three-letter organizations, all of these different things that we are in control of, supposedly. Nothing. Getting nothing. And it's actually worse than nothing, and we're going to cover that. There's actually two elements of a cover-up here. You have the actual cover-up, which is conflicting stories happening in Minnesota, the now infamous Quality Leering Center. You're getting two conflicting stories. I believe it was the Minnesota Commissioner of Children, this is just a weird title, came out and said essentially that this place has been closed down, and that you're here in like holiday seasons or whatnot, but this place is closed down. Funny enough, the New York Post reported that they were trucking children in, and there's video footage coming out of the supposedly shut down Quality Leering Center that got a bunch of Somalian children showing up to go to their front door today. So who do you believe, the Minnesota Commission of Children or the New York Post? Both are kind of questionable, to be honest with you. And that's kind of the basis of where we are. And right now, the majority of what the memes are that you are seeing floating around in the dissident right, or really the conservatives at large, I mean, we're getting people like the lectern guy and even ardent MAGA supporters are going, I'm done. The meme that's circulating is the one that is basically this: we are going to fucking do nothing. And it's plastered over J.D. Vance's face, it's plastered over Donald Trump's face, and it is the vibe that everybody's getting. Now understand that also simultaneously, as this is happening, all of the frauds being uncovered, it's basically we're watching Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, all these people reacting, Harmeet Dillon, and that's a whole other story. We'll get to that. All reacting. What's Donald Trump doing? Well, he is filleting Bibi Netanyahu in front of the public. Once again, Bibi Netanyahu arriving to the White House for what I believe is like the 10th time now, 9th, 10th, 11th time in this year alone. And he's making the plea for, well, if Iran continues its ballistic missiles program, it's war. That's our line. And just nobody wants it. I mean, everybody's sitting here going, this can't be. We're done with this. Looks like I lost internet for a little bit. Hopefully it comes back. Looks like it's coming back right now. Dude, I've been having technical issues like crazy. Apologies, guys, if the stream quality is poor right there. But again, all this reactive, people are clearly irritated and angry at what they are getting from, I hope they're not messing with my stream. Hopefully it's just internet. But they're clearly angry at the clear sign of Kash Patel and Pam Bondi coming back to the scene and going, oh, no, we were doing this. And addition to this, what you also get from one of our Department of Justice lawyers, attorneys really, I think it's a better term, with Harmeet Dillon, is that no, there's actually, we've been arresting these people. There's been 99 arrests, or 98, I think, to be specific. And people are quickly pointing out, actually, no, the majority of these arrests came under the Biden FBI, and they made sure to discreetly cover it so it wouldn't blow back on Tim Walz. And so you look at it and it's like, so wait, only 20 of arrests have been happening ever since then? And a lot of them were linked to the COVID era. And so you have lies going back and forth. It's so cover up on both ends. You have obviously the Somalia and the Minnesota's working overtime to cover up the fact that the fraud's actually occurring, and then they're going to start lying to people. And then on the other end, the FBI is lying to the general public that they have been on the case. They know what's going on. They've been hunting this down, and it's a big joke, and everybody sees right through it. And what I'm seeing across the board is all of this kind of cognitive dissonance where I can't even fault it. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This might even sound bad, but this is just kind of where I'm at. Seeing just the general reaction and what has been happening with this story in particular, and seeing how one YouTuber with one video covering Minnesota fraud turned into everybody immediately looking at Ohio, which everybody in Columbus, and not me included, were all ready for that to happen. I've been talking about that since I've had basically a mic and a camera, how bad the immigration has been, how bad the Somalian scene has been. And then, like clockwork, here comes Idaho. Oh, we found the Somalian fraud and Indian fraud. Oh, here comes Massachusetts. Guy puts up a photograph. There's in a 20-mile radius, which is 30% of it is literally water because it's close to the Atlantic. 4,000 daycares. Then you get people from, and that's just Idaho, Massachusetts. You have people coming out from Utah. I believe somebody was reporting from Colorado. Other states are now looking into like these Indian grants. Are looking at these other different groups, right, outside of Somalians in general. And I have to be completely honest with you, like the overall feeling that I've gotten, and it's going to be terrible. It's going to sound terrible to say. I feel worse about our overall situation right now than I did coming away from the Charlie Kirk tragedy. Not in the sense that I'm saying one is much worse than the other, but the takeaway feeling I have walking away from what I'm seeing and absorbing from the system and what we're getting is, I mean, it's just deep sadness. I mean, like, to me, this only cements to me the idea that accelerationism is the only option. I think I'm completely off of the incrementalism train now at this point. I don't think that there's any more form of, like, reform at this point is going to be like burning it to the ground, metaphorically, figuratively, not literally. And this is just the fraud element, and so this is like obviously the main featured story you have. Then you have obviously the Israel element, and that's just continually just being more and more aggressively seen by all of the average people. And yes, good reminder in the chat there was like a Somalian farm in Maine that was like with wine, or like a grape farm or something like that was fraudulent as well. And I just have this really dark and bad feeling, and it's not the black pill. I don't want people to black pill, but to be honest with you completely, I have a very dark feeling about where this is going to take us. And so, for example, we're getting quotes and statements and posts from people like Theo Vaughn and Savannah Hernandez and a few others going at this, going, why am I paying taxes? And I think there were back-to-back posts. Theo Vaughn just posed a question he tweeted out earlier, and he says, why am I paying taxes? People like Savannah Hernandez, someone who's been in the conservative media for a hot minute, although I don't have a high opinion of her, she came out and just said verbatim, she's not paying her taxes this year. She said she's done. And this, to me, for one, it does track with what the American kind of ethos is like, if you're not going to be willing to be ruled by tyrants. But I don't know how that's going to do for most people. Also, at the same time, like, I did see a post from Dave Riley also being like, I get the feeling, I understand this, but don't make yourself a target. And that's kind of the point here, which is it's now out in the open, which we've all kind of been talking about this for a hot minute. But it couldn't be any more out in the open than what it is right now, that white people in America are the only people at all expected to obey laws, do their taxes, show up on time, be prepared, be organized, like all of it. And I think Sneeko was right. I don't know if you guys had seen this clip, but Sneeko had basically went on a limb and said, this is what you see. Like, this is the beginning of a race war. And he's referencing that in the context of one of these instances where Shirley is showing up to one of these daycares or healthcare places, whatever it is. It's just a Somalian crime mafioso occurring. And the lady basically says, like, point blank, she's like, I was scared. I saw white people. Like, I saw white guys like you coming up. And that's kind of the direction that, unfortunately, these things, like, we didn't want them to go. The direction that it's going to go. And now we have problems that can't be mitigated with simply, there's no unity, there's no coming back to the board. And now you have Asmongold who's posing that he's not going to vote at all unless on the party platform, whoever it is that they're going to deport and denaturalize the people involved in this. And I agree with that. And this is kind of the direction that's going to go. There's going to be a huge portion of people, as it sits right now, largely led by people like Nick Fuentes, but many others who are joining that crowd, whether they're going in line with the call signal from Nick or not, just on their own accord. But a lot of people are coming out and saying, like, listen, like, you got to earn my vote. And that's honestly how it should have been from the beginning, from how everybody's been treating voting. But it's only happening now because for the first time, people are waking up to the reality of just how bad things are. I know people said that previous years in election, but I think this will be the reckoning. And so on the other side of that, unfortunately, is Democrat takeover. And that's obviously not going to be good either, especially knowing for the fact that they're going to go after people like Steve Bannon. They're going to go after people, not like I really care about Steve Bannon at all, but it's just to say they will come after conservatives and they're not going to play by the rules. And that goes to a more broader point I wanted to make, which I should have the tweet on screen. I don't have it, but again, I've just been absorbing this for the last couple of days. Harmeet Dillon, again, she is one of these attorneys, and again, she's a woman. She shouldn't be doing anything involved with justice or with being lawyers or anything like that. It's like the last department actually women should be involved with, and like judges specifically too. She comes out and she's interacting and engaging with all these people who are like, tagging her and coming after her because she's had a couple of statements these last few days, and she's basically putting this lay down of like, listen, we can't go after these people, and we can't. Because of the statute of limitations. Like, if you guys just understood, we can't go after these people. It's like, we know they committed fraud. We let you guys know they did it. We know they committed crimes, but it's a statute of limitations. It's like 5 years. And so we can't go after these people now. Like, oh, well. This goes back exactly to where we were with what Tim Pool had been saying for a hot minute, which was you can't play a game with cheaters. It's retarded to think you can play Monopoly with somebody who's stealing money out of the bank the whole time. But when we get our guys, then they're holding themselves to like this standard, like this piece of paper. It's like, oh, dude, I totally would. It's like, oh, dude, I totally would save your country. But like, man, like it says right there, like on this piece of paper, like we can't do it. So I guess we don't have a country anymore. Oh no. Are you serious? Like, do you think any single one of us cares? It's like, here, how about executive order, statute of limitations don't matter anymore. Okay, carry on, Harmeet. Go ahead. And that's kind of the point there, is none of these things are happening. Nothing outside the box. The clear hunger from the people for a strong executive, a strong, a monarch, even if you want, if you will. And we're getting nothing for it. And that was kind of the immediate reaction to from people like JD Vance, who had quote tweeted this and was like, wow, dang, this is crazy. Oh man, oh no. And people immediately called it out and they said, listen, like this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. That this is your response. Like, I don't know. Do you think the vice president, JD Vance, like knows, like would know anybody who could like possibly do anything to look into this? And so that's enough for an opening starter. I've kind of already ranted a little bit. But make sure you do smash the like button. Obviously, it helps tremendously. And let's get started with this. So the Somalian fraud. If we were looking at Minnesota, we're going to start there first. Minnesota is a captured state. It's captured territory now. I think we're down to 49 states in America at this point. And what do we get? Well, in the immediate aftermath, Tim Walz is saying, well, anyone who cares about this is a white supremacist, and anybody who's talking about this just wants a scapegoat. And I've been worrying about the fraud this entire time. And I can't stomach any more of it. I can't take for one more second listening to these people spew this manipulative, subversive language that is in no other sense it is just simply a disguised, masking way to tell white people to go fuck off and die. And I'm not even trying to be rude. I'm not trying to, like, that is exactly what it is. It is, understand, it is nothing other than that. It is, and this is kind of the response you're seeing from Somalian people too, which we'll look at here in a little bit. But, anybody talking about it, he gets confronted in person by somebody. I don't know who the journalist was. And he's like, I think I've done a great job for the people of Minnesota. Yeah, some people in Minnesota, clearly. And that kind of poses this kind of first line, which is a lot of people want Governor Tim Walz to, face some justice for this. And like, obviously, I think anybody involved should be facing some justice for this. But that's not where the anger is. And nor do I think it should be. I think the anger should be placed more specifically on the fact that, and here's an example, the infamous Quality Leering Center. Okay, this is the one that most people are looking at. It's one that obviously like misspelled, didn't put the N in the big sign. They've since changed it. That's going around like, wow, they changed it. I don't give a fuck about them changing the sign. I give a fuck about, did we deport every single person in that building? Did we denaturalize all of them? And do we know who their kids are so we can do it to them too? I'm angry, but I'm also reserved to the fact that like, I really have like, I don't know what direction we go from this point forward. And it's not to be like rude or, again, not to be blackpilling, but it's just like, damn, dude, like, holy shit. Like at a certain point, like, will somebody like stand up? Like, and I'm sitting here going like, I'm going to have to go do it. I'm going to hit me with like very, very few resources at all. Am I seriously going to have to go and point out to people, and I'll say this again, anybody can clip this. I will say it again as somebody who was all over Columbus, the northeastern side, go north. So if you're going east of 71, you go north of Morse Road. It is Somaliland out there. Any person who actually cares, and probably nobody will. So I'll seeing what my schedule will look like if I can take the car out there, because that's probably more than likely what I will be doing. We'll see what happens with that. Let me try not to crash out, actually. But my overall point is like, I don't think, how could anyone be surprised at this point, right? And I think those points are true, right? No one is coming to save us. We have to take this to the next level. And by that, I don't mean doing anything violent or physical. I'm just saying like we have to make the leap from comments to actually things in person happening. Now, in the best sense, what this is it's just something as simple as you stand up for yourself by proxy of the fact that you don't allow yourself to be walked on, and you do it in a very public and a very open way. It's not a passive aggressive. So in the sense of like, on the minor scale of like something that people could do simply where it's like at Walmart and you're getting cut in line and these similar things are happening all the time, like being oppositional to that, not tolerating things like that. That's where it's got to go. But it shouldn't be surprising to anybody, obviously. Remember the guy who literally just won, the Minneapolis mayor, Mr. Jacob Frey? The dude he's dreaming of visiting Somalia. Thank you very much for the memberships. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, AI World Champion. I appreciate it, brother. if there's stuff happening in the stream, like I don't know what to tell you. I have good connection on my end. Dude, YouTube can suck a fat one, to be honest with you. But you have the mayor, Jacob Frey. Oh, we love Somalians. Like, I have dreams. I have visions of going and visiting Somalia. He's out here dancing and singing on stage, like wearing this light blue shirt. That's not to mention that they also secretly there in Minnesota. Many of you have probably already seen this now too. But the Minnesota state flag is nothing other than a recreation of the Somali state flag, or the Nation of Somalian flag. And there's even moments, a resurfaced video, I can't remember what it was from. I think it was like 2023, 2024. It might have been during the vice presidential run. But Tim Walz does like this very public virtue signal where he sits down for an interview, and behind him, I believe, is the American flag and the Minnesotan flag with the state seal. And he's like, oh, hold on one second. Then he grabs the flag and he puts the new Minnesota one up there, and it literally is identical to the Somalian flag. Now, a lot of this goes kind of under the radar because I wouldn't imagine the average American is like familiar with what these, a Somalian flag looks like. And then when you actually see it, you're like, oh no. And then you see it compared with what's occurring right now, and you go, oh no. And this is your golden age. This is your golden age of 2025. This is YouTubers are doing what journalists are supposed to be doing. And that kind of is partly where my anger also comes from too, is you look at the resources and you look at somebody like Benny Johnson, right? Why is it that I'm learning? And here's again, we'll go to the Leering Center, right? Remember, infamous Leering Center. I'm sorry I'm bouncing all over the place. There's just so much here. The FBI raided that place in 2015. What? The infamous Quality Leering Center, you heard, was raided in 2015. It was just simply under a different name. It was under like the Samala something center. You know what they did? They changed the name, and they got a new license, and they went for 10 more years. Like, it's just like, and you're supposed to, and what the FBI is coming out and saying, and Pam Bondi included, and she's got to go, dude. We've been following this, guys. We've been making all these arrests while they point to something that they didn't do under a different administration, under a different leadership with the FBI, pointing to, oh, there was like 20 more views. We got 20 more charges out of what there's 40,000 NGOs. Understand, there are 4 times as many NGOs in Minnesota as there are restaurants. So think about that. So every time you're driving down the highway, you guys see it. You drive down the highway, you look over the road, and there's like the McDonald's and Arby's and Wendy's. There's 2 Subways packed into the gas station. There's a Buc-ee's over there. Now times that by 4, and that's how many NGOs are in Minnesota. And I caught that from Chris Martinson, blew me away. There's 42,000 NGOs in Minnesota. Only 10,000 restaurants. What? Now, I felt like the 10,000 restaurants is a little low, to be honest with you, but and the best part is a lot of the Somalians are justifying everything. And a lot of them are justifying it over the tried and true Marxist framing of oppressor and oppressed, or stolen land, if you will. There's a viral clip going around of a young Somalian girl. I don't know if what she was being interviewed for or why it became relevant, but she's sitting there talking, and it's in this video clip that she goes, well, we shouldn't be considered illegal when this is stolen land. So everything's completely justified, actually. Interesting. And it doesn't help that it's being obviously brigaded and bridged with all the politicians in office who are also saying, yes, wow, yeah, no, we completely agree with your framing there. But here's where the real crux of the issue is that if anybody has, I don't know, had any kind of conversation with a Somalian, or anybody just knows the average IQ of somebody from Somalia, or typically the running theme of all these sub-Saharan countries, The average IQ is very low. And this obviously, there's an immediate reaction and a gut feeling, and which I believe is true, that like they didn't orchestrate this themselves. The Somalians didn't just come in here and they had this plan. It was like clearly people helped them. There are people who are inside, whether it's inside the administration, inside the Minnesota State House, inside of the legislature. It's clear and obvious if you've ever interacted with a Somalian, they don't even grasp the English language enough to be able to pull this shit off. There are people that are clearly aiding and abetting them. And this brings us to one of these other stories that's came out of this, which is there's this, I'll just put it up on screen here. Let me find this here. Now, Blonde, Rebecca from the Backlash tweeted about this and put it up on screen for you. This running story now is that there's this trio of judges that are coming under fire for dismissing a flurry of cases. Now, the one that they're looking at in specifically is one case. And this kind of blew me away. I'll read what Rebecca said here. No one is getting fooled by a bunch of 68 IQ Somalis. Women who shouldn't be able to vote, let alone secure a judgeship, worked in tandem to promote their retarded multicultural utopian fantasy. The remainder of the conspirators are either similarly low IQ minorities or traitorous, effeminate white men working at the behest of Jews. Wall for all, she says. But what you go and you find with this story is they literally separated this. So they say a flurry of fraud cases, but when you look into this, it's this one specific thing here. And they separated these three defendants for whatever reason between three different judges. And so it was this Abitava Youssef got given to Judge Sarah West. Judge Amber Brennan was charged and tried under, or no, so you just see it, obviously. The three different judges took it on, they separated it. And I think, honestly, Rebecca makes the best point there, which is like women shouldn't be getting any positions of judges at all. And obviously you would agree with this if you understood and agreed with how God created the world and what men and women are supposed to be. But this is insane. And so you have clear more signs of corruption, and the bell is ticking. And immediately, maybe record time, I don't even think it had been 24 hours since a lot of this had been blowing up, that you're getting people going, so where are the no-knock raids? Why were January 6ers who barely did a damn thing having their homes raided, being tracked across the nation, having their flights being stepped in upon by the FBI? But supposedly this has been getting investigated since 2015, then had another bigger surge in 2020 when it came with like the PPE loans and the COVID funding. Where are their no-knock raids? And then here's the best part. A bunch of Ohio guys came together, representatives, and I think it was mainly just legislature from Ohio, because they know the ball is coming for Ohio, especially with Casey and Vivek, and now you're going to have all this fraud blowing up too. It's going to be a wild show in Ohio. They wrote a strongly worded letter. They said we want immediate unannounced visits. Immediately, just show up unannounced and ask them questions. Which is no joke what the exact DHS and FBI were doing in Minnesota. And so that's how the FBI responded. And then you get these videos circulating. Excuse me, are you Mr. Dawali Bing? Did you commit a crime? No? Okay, I'll take your word for it. I have never in my life been so utterly convinced that this is just one big show. It's one big theater performance. There's an orchestra somewhere. I don't know who it is. Somebody's waving the wand, because, man, you can't make this shit up. I'm like, this isn't, I mean, all of it. It's just the optics are so miserably bad, but it's worse than just the optics being bad. It's the fact that behind the optics is an even worse reality, which is that they are simply just trying to drag the system down the same path that has been going on. America, which is basically just AmeriCorps, and that's what it's basically been being found out to be by every other group besides white people, is that it is a system, a business to extract wealth from hardworking taxpayers into the hands and mouths of people who don't belong here and who didn't work for it and don't deserve it. And what am I supposed to say to my American audience whose fathers who founded this nation, last straw was a 3% increase on tea? I'm very taken aback. I wish I could do a better job of have the skills of like Nick to really kind of articulate and orate this in a way that would be like, and here's the next step. But man, it's just like cooked. And now at this point, like, I don't really think there even needs to be pressure from Nick to not vote. I think this event by itself will hold that. I don't think people even need to watch Nick to go, I'm going to withhold my vote. They're just going to see the results of their last vote. It's unfortunate, man. And I appreciate that. Thank you for becoming a member. But we all kind of already had this idea. And one video that I was actually working on and wanted to, but I've been just very lethargic and just all around because of the holidays, was about the Clavs and the Michael Knowles discussion. And I think the most striking thing in there was how Clav just very easily just explained the concept of accelerationism, and like, not the reasoning of like why you'd put JD over Gavin Newsom, but he's explaining the concept of like, this is what accelerationism is. And I think maybe one of the best shows of Nick was his last one of the year, which is, this is where we are and this is how we have to be. We are figuratively holding a loaded gun to the head of the GOP. Fix it now. In the words of Nick. And in the line, that's the line that has to be held. Fix it better than I could even imagine it being fixed. And maybe even then, I still might not even vote. You got to clean it up. But I really have no hope of that happening at all. Actually, I don't think that's happening at all. I wish I had a better kind of conviction on that, to be honest with you, but I don't think it's coming. And that would be my honest thought. And I'm not trying to black pill. And if anything at all, what I've been saying for a hot minute, which was, if the attempt was that Donald Trump was the Trojan horse, and the plan is that JD Vance is going to be the next installation to carry it on for 4 more years, to me, this is opening up a very broad avenue for JD Vance to step in, not now, or maybe not even next year, but probably closer to 2027, or maybe even a little bit later than that. What you're going to get is JD's going to go, guys, I tried. The Trump administration just wouldn't listen to me. I was in there fighting every day for you guys. I was saying no war with Iran. I was tweeting. I was like, man, we got to get this fraud taken care of. And thus trying to find some way to bridge and gain back the trust of everybody who had just recently lost it from everything they'd seen. And maybe they'll convince themselves enough to go, maybe JD isn't as bad as Trump. Maybe he is a bit different. Maybe he isn't Trump. I mean, he did say never Trump back then. So I don't know. I think there's still a big opportunity for JD to basically maintain the front runner, moving into that. But even as that, I don't have much faith in his ticket doing very well at all. You go to the super chat here. You find it here, put it on screen. Sorry, I'm having some issues. I'm back in. This is from to Gooch 284. I appreciate the super chat. It says, sometimes I think Trump wants the Democrats to win the House and Senate so he will get impeached. If that happens, I would just laugh and wouldn't be mad. I think he's doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. I think this is part of the reason why he's floating out, like why he's not responded to anything that's happening right now, at least as far as I understand, or maybe there's just nothing that his, PR people think that he could put out that would be good enough to. And then here you go. This is the result of the country. This is the result of people just simply like sucking off continually Trump, no matter what he was doing wrong. This is the result of people, not reading news or only absorbing what they hear from people like Benny Johnson. But here's my thing. Why is Benny Johnson the guy who has, I'm assuming he's a millionaire. I'm assuming he at least has a lot more money than me. Why is he reacting to all of this? Where's all of the proactive like journalism and investigating? Why is all of it from whether it's Benny Johnson or any of these other like mainstay, MAGA individuals, There's nothing proactive. Why is he reacting to some random Anon who's pointing out this article from 2015 talking about the infamous Leering Center being raided? Where are you guys? What is that money even doing? Where's it going? Where did all these people super chats for Benny Johnson go? Does any of it make its way into, I don't know, literally anything? Or does it just make Benny Johnson's wallet fatter and he continually makes money off of clicks? And I know I'm just targeting Benny Johnson, but a lot of them do it. Where are all the resources going? All we can put up is one YouTuber? I thought we were taking the country back. So, and one other thing I'll explore a little bit, because I think not many people have been touching this aspect. And yes, go to church. Great message, Mr. World Champion. Is the fact that it's not just the daycares or the health cares. One in particular that really caught me off guard was this one about autism, which is insane. But this was the one that really blew me away. And so Somalis in Minnesota, in addition to all the other industries that they have categorically and systemically been exploiting fraudulently, they set up fake medical centers. And they were diagnosing their own children with autism so they could steal billions of dollars through Medicaid. And there's a report from September of this year. I'm assuming this is one of the 20 women who've been arrested in the last 4 years related to this, which is still a super low number. A woman was being charged for a $14 million fraud operation. And her very American name was Asha Farhan Hassan. This one, as they expect many others are similar, are a community benefit. And this is where, similar to what James O'Keefe and Project Veritas reported on a long time ago, that seemingly is only relevant now, and who knows if there are even any arrests that occurred from what he reported. Thank you very much for the super chat from Envoy of Justice. And he says, I don't know why he blacks out some but doesn't the others. I think it's just like the color thing. But I appreciate it. And he says, and there are too many influences on the right calling us low IQ politically and saboteurs if we don't vote red no matter who, even if there is nothing done about something as egregious as this fraud. And that's the game. And that's kind of their play. Like they make money by the fact that they are basically standing there as like these MAGA gatekeepers. And you see it from many other people that this whole idea of like actually using your vote, and the idea is the Democrats are just so much worse and you'll lose everything and the country will get annihilated. And it's like, well, the country's annihilated right now. So clearly voting for Republicans for the past, I don't know, 3 terms has done nothing to like, what did we get it from it? Like does anyone have an idea of like what we actually got for voting for Trump for the last? Can anyone? Wow. Oh my gosh. I found something. I can say gay and retarded now, and maybe I won't lose my life. Oh, maybe I can slightly be critical of black people. And as long as I don't get doxxed, maybe I won't, maybe there won't be threats against my, like at a certain point, you got to go, what did we actually get? What is different about America in 2015 versus the America in 2025? Did America get considerably better from 2015 to 2025? Or better yet, was it all the Democrats' fault? There was nothing we could have done. It was just all for naught. No. I would wager the country was better in 2015. The country was better before everybody and their brother got on board with big tent conservatism, and they absolutely annihilated the values of what it means to be conservative. I'm going to say something else because it looks like my stream is being effed with hard. The concurrent viewers are dropping by 30 and then going up 30. I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you. No, country didn't get better. So what has my vote done for me? And then a better question, and in the light of that, what have they done to earn my vote? Nothing. If anything, they've told me to, if anything, going back to Envoy of Justice, the Trump administration has called their own base dumb for wanting to dig into any deeper into the Epstein files. Slapping him in the face with Kash Patel. Of course, this is my private jet. I'm going to get into the Kash Patel stuff, but That would be what I would push that, obviously. Like, I think that's obvious. The country hasn't gotten any better, and it's basically just been a cope fest. You've all been sitting here like copium, we're passing it around, and like we're on the last bit, man. There's like 2% left in the tank, and I'm looking, and it's gonna hit Jeffrey, it's gonna hit Mike, it's gonna hit Tammy. That copium ain't even gonna get to me by the time it gets my turn. So accelerationism is that this is the only way. Accelerate it, make it abundantly obvious that we are not going back into the box. White people, white Christians, Christian nationalists are never going back in the fucking box. You fucked up big time. And who cares? Burn it to the ground. The majority of us already have very little to lose. You're already coming after everything that we love and care about. So here we stand. Fix it or get fucked by the Democrats. And pardon my language, but man, fix it or lose. Fix it or lose. Get off. Like, and here's the thing. We'll pause. Get off of X. Stop tweeting about it. The tweets would be fine if it was paired with action, but it's not. It's always telling us what you're about to do or you have done something. Oh, like, and what we did this back in 2021. Like, no one cares about that, actually. We want to see Somalians grabbed by the handful. At this point, and it's not to say like, hey, listen, like we want to see people like drug out of their homes or separated from family. Like, I don't want to see like the worst stuff, but I do want to see my country being taken back. I want to see a actual serious, I want to see a virtue signal for once in my life towards white people. I want to see a wink and a nod to something that we give a shit about. We're already on the edge. We are a hair away from our country being entirely annihilated, and it will never come back. Like, you're simply not getting the vote. I don't know what else to tell you. You're not getting my vote. I was already never Vance. Now at this point, it's just burn it. But to go back to the autism scandal, which is another categorical portion of this, is the fact that this is another category. And so there was another big one that I saw, but I didn't cover, but just to bring it to your attention, was about a trucking industry. And very similar case, private building, no windows, 29 different trucking companies, all registered to this one address. Similar story. But this autism one, and the reason why I wanted to cover the autism one is because it once again highlights the community benefit here in this kind of in-group protection of this crime racket. And so this was initially covered in video that was captured by, I believe, Project Veritas, i.e. James O'Keefe, one of the two. I think it would have been Project Veritas back then, which did show supposedly a parent receiving a kickback for participating in the program. And similarly, with a lady that they arrested back in September with this $14 million fraud operation, the parents were getting kickbacks of anywhere from like $300 to $1,500 a month for participating in the program. Not actually because their kids had autism, but because the parents were going along with it. They were signing it up. They were doing a little bit of paperwork. They were like, oh yes, here are the signs and symptoms. And thus, when this autism treatment center, I think that's what it would be called, they would then redirect the funds. They would keep the majority of it and then funnel it back out to the parents. So understand, it is to the benefit of the Somalian community that this fraud operation was occurring. This isn't just like it's one individual and they're like connecting the dots here and there. Massive portions of Somalian communities are in on what is happening. This is why they have such an extreme protective. You see it in these Nick Shirley videos. You heard it from the researcher himself. And I'm telling you, when they come to Columbus, you will see more of it. And I'm going to go back to one of these videos I referenced. Now, I referenced it because this guy was a coward. But one of the videos coming out of Columbus that came from a delivery driver talked about how he was like, I feel bad for the fear they care. I don't give a shit. But what he said and what he observed was when he went to the door of this one building, when he opened it, it wouldn't open all the way. And he said all he could see was it looked like about 15 people were all waiting, like in, anxiously awaiting, like, is this an ICE agent or is this our package from Amazon? It's a community thing. Ask anybody who has went to the Ohio State University and has been anywhere near the fields on South Campus or on West Campus, and they will tell you the Somalians roll up like it is a tribe. They roll up as an army. They're running 35 deep at a minimum, and they're all coming all together in one group. They won't play with other people. They take over a field. It is a very common, easily observable thing that you can see, and that's just one of the elements that I can think of off the top of my head from being at the Ohio State University when I went to college. And it's not even just the parents. What they found out with this case was that they had employed relatives, young relatives who are just getting out of the house, who are needing jobs, who had no experience with autism, anything related medically at all, but were working at these autism treatment centers. And so again, the key thing here is it's not like a rogue, it's not like you have rogue operatives. It's not like, it's just like these people here and there. It is these whole operation is benefiting the community. Which is why, again, when you see in that one clip of Nick Shirley, when he's being escorted out by the police, they're all recording him. Why are they all recording him? You would think if you were just showing up as a Somalian there and you'd see a guy getting kicked out, you'd be like, oh, well, what's going on? But the way they were laughing at him and recording in unison shows some level of cohesive nature to the fact that they understood what was going on. And I didn't see the cop explain to them what was happening there. It seemed like they already kind of knew what was going on. Just an observation. And so in that same time span, so this is going to blow you away. In that same time span, which was like, I believe it was like from 2018 or 2019, I can't remember when they had said she had started. It was about like 4 or 5, 6 years. The number of autism treatment centers in Minnesota increased by 700%. 700%. They went from 41 providers to over 300. And again, in like 5 years. Here's the best part. Here's the best part of the article I was looking at. I think it was from the Minnesota Reformer. The DHS says, hold on, wait. There's 84 active and open cases from the DHS on the autism providers alone. Where are the results? Where are the arrests? Dude, listen, we need to see arrests before people start asking for heads on pikes. And we just got to be honest. We just got to be honest. People are going to start calling for scalps and heads on pikes. We need to see these people. It needs to be very visible. We need the American public needs the cathartic release of like, thank God the American system of justice isn't dead yet. But many people seem to think that it actually is. And that's why I titled the show The Death of Rule of Law. Because we're going to go run through a series of all these reactions from a lot of people. Some people who typically don't, give a lot of political takes. And a lot of them are on the same veins. A lot of them are talking about the death of the rule of law. And like I'd pointed to Savannah Hernandez and Theo Vaughn, and they're not the only ones. Many other people are on the same boat. They look at it and they go, why am I following the rules? It's not because I want to break the rules and I would do it the moment I knew somebody would not do anything to me. It's the fact of like, there literally is no point in following the rules if the only people who are expected to abide them and will ever be punished by them are whites. So at a certain point, you just sit there and you go like, listen, like, and I'm not going to say it on here because I know you two would be aggressive about it. But it's why people are turning around and giving advice to just do what your founding fathers have done, in a generic sense. That's why I have a really bad feeling about what's to come. Because it's not, the system's not going to go down swinging. Or not going to go down without a fight. So the question is how do they clap back? How do they put a stop? How do they change tracks for where this outrage is? This overpouring of outrage. What do they move to? What do they pivot to? What's the next story that's going to all of a sudden kind of bury half of this in the news cycle? Where's the claim? Like, what will it be? What will they do to the American people? What psychosis will they put us under? What's the next psychological operation? What else? What other crafty ways of the CIA just sitting there and thinking like how they can manipulate public opinion and shift us towards this ever cascading fall of the American empire into the hands of Jewish oligarchs who just want nothing more than to strip this nation of everything and everyone. Like, I'm just tired of repeating. I'm tired of this being the story. I really am. And now the bigger one, though, and this is kind of the last piece on the autism one, the bigger thing is the fact that there's been like this kind of known like exploitation, and it's the feed for families or whatever, or family feeding something, feeding our future. Lord, I could not remember it. There's so many of these stupid NGOs. They have these stupid generic names. The autism treatment lady. Oh, this is cherry on top. She also filed invoices to the government saying that she also fed 200,000. She also served 200,000 meals to needy children, and the government gave her $500,000 for it. What did she show for proof? Lord knows. Just like that, boom. $500,000 of taxpayer dollars. And I'm going to be personal here for a second too. Obviously, I think many of you know, like obviously I've, even right now, I'm still not even like the most, the best financial situation. Obviously, it's gotten better because of YouTube. But before I was doing Uber, and I was working 2 different jobs. I was doing insurance and I was doing Uber, and I was working literally nonstop, constantly. So I actually had a lot of time to listen to podcasts. That's how I started getting a lot more politically inclined. And it was in that obviously I've got this strong familiarity with like what was going on and having the IRL experience with it too. But as we're getting close to having our daughter and obviously everything else going on, my wife has been repeatedly denied certain benefits that would fall under, whether it was like Medicaid and things like that, things that would help us out, especially around the child. And now I am seeing loads of videos, even videos coming from the Black community, from people from Columbus, Ohio, who are talking about how they also were denied benefits, even though they had clearly qualified. They clearly qualified under the CCAP. They clearly qualified under SNAP. They clearly qualified under all these, getting denied. And the saddest thing about it, though, is I saw this one video from this Black dude, and instead of telling you about it, I'll just go ahead and play it. And one thing too is his nostrils are huge, by the way. I don't mean it to be offensive. I just mean that it was like they kind of took me back a little bit. And you can make fun of me for whatever I have too. But dude, I just giving you a warning. It's like it's pretty aggressive. But everybody from Columbus already knows what's up. Anybody who's lived here is like, they already kind of had this idea. And now we're seeing it happen in Minnesota. And just by contrast of everyone seeing what's happening in Minnesota, everyone in Columbus, Ohio is going, oh, fuck. They're going, oh, that's what this has been. Oh, no. Like, we just thought it was bad immigration, like naturally. Oh, no. Oh, it's worse than that. So here's this video from this dude from Columbus, Ohio. And it probably tells the story of what I would imagine millions of other, or I shouldn't say millions, but probably thousands of other Columbus, Ohioan residents who were also denied these benefits, probably because they were given to foreigners first. But here's this video clip.
About the Somali shit 20 years ago. I had my son 20 years ago. I went to go get Section 8. Drove down to the Section 8 office in Columbus, Ohio, and guess who the fuck I seen? All Somalis in the parking lot. They was there for 8 hours already. Had tents and shit, vans parked. They had fucking tents. They had they vans parked in the parking lot and made tents, nigga. It's first come, first serve when you go to get help from the government, when you need aid, when you need financial aid. First come, first serve. You gotta wait behind a fucking 100 Somalians, nigga, to get. I'm American, bitch. I gotta wait behind 100 Somalians to even get help. Then when you wait after all these niggas, they be like, oh yeah, we don't got no more room left. We only had 80 spots. Yeah, 100 Somalians got all the motherfucking Section 8, nigga. I knew about this 20 years ago. I never did get the Section 8, and the government don't give a fuck. The federal government don't care. They complicit. They corrupt. Bro.
Okay, this is a complete side point, but like, I don't know what it's called. It's like agoraphobia or agapophobia or something, but it's like the fear of like holes. I have a bit of that. They're like, I don't know, I'm terrified of holes. But it does make me feel icky. It feels me like I start getting cringed. And Lord have mercy, dude. Like I can see his brain. I can read the IQ label on his brain from here, dude. Not to be rude though, but just to highlight, it's like everybody here is like, bro, we know this. Like we have been living with this. We know this. Like this has been Columbus. Like we get this. And I think it's just hitting everybody now who lives there that like, wait a minute. Wait, y'all ain't got all the Somalians? Wait, y'all ain't got Somalians out here in the BMV? We thought this was everywhere. No, actually, it's just Ohio, Minnesota, and multiple other large urban centers across the nation. And that's the other element too. So this goes us to another portion. Yeah, as we're moving to Ohio. Obviously, Minnesota's one thing. Minnesota, though, I don't live there. I care about it as far as I care about the rest of the nation. But man, Minnesota, you're on your own. I'm about to stand at the border and say, listen, no more. I think it's contagious. I can't let you cross. I can't let you get close. Sorry, we just have to cut our losses. Minnesota's now its own country. But in Ohio, we have something even more funny and laughable than what's even happening in Minnesota. In Ohio, we have the Somalian lobby. I kid you not. Take a listen to this video. This. You can't make this shit up, man. The video we're about to watch is from Ismail Mohammed of Columbus, Ohio, on his goal to get more Somali elected officials at the state and federal level.
aad iyo aad baan rabaa marka ugu horeysa inaan uga mahad celiyo runtii TV qaranka iyo maamulkiisaba waa laba waxoo taariikh runtii oo aan ka sameynay gobolkeena Ohio especially khaasan magaalada Columbus marka ugu horeysa waxa way Sayid Maxamed Cabdulla Xasan waa aabihii Soomaaliya runtii waa qof maxal dhahay sharaftiisa iyo karaamadiisa qof la mid ah orta taariikhda Soomaaliya kuma jirto marka runtii hadaf iyo go'an bay ahayd anuu xitaa soo bixin ka hor baan maskaxdayda ku jirto runtii haddii amar wado mise wax lagu maamuusiyo qof bini aadan oo Soomaaliya Sayid Maxamed Cabdulla Xasan baa istaahila taariikhna oo runtii aan ku xusno magaalada Columbus Ohio wada aan kuma oo magac darnay taasna runtii taariikh bay noo tahay dhowr iyo 20 in haysano oo xillibaana kala duwan of course Ilhan Umarna noo tahay.
Okay, that's enough. The point here is, how is this even legal? An even better question is like, I get by the paper and by the book how it would be legal. My question is like, why is it tolerated at all? And once again, you're getting this elected official, I mean, who knows anymore? What do you get from him? He says, before I had even pioneered my election, or I think he meant his campaign. He had the idea of what he wanted to do, which was, namely, wanted to put the street name of some random Somalian like warlord up there. But more than anything, he wants to lobby. His aim, and quote, is a united front to lobby for Somalia. Now, this isn't that surprising, given the fact that Ilhan Omar has said very similar things previously. But this is the same level of the foreign subversion that we're all tired of. We none of us here care about the plight of anything happening outside the country. Especially when you combine everything. You combine the fact that home doesn't feel like home. You combine that there's no houses. Everything's super expensive. Dude, for certain families, like having a child and being married young is enough to start arguments, because parents don't even have to think about considering what it's going to cost to help raise their grandchild. Things of that nature too. And it's just disgusting, the stresses that it's put on people. Meanwhile, Somalian families having 9 kids, popping them out like crazy, not even going to work. And you know why they're not going to work? Is because you're going to work for them. Government basically takes your dollars and hands it to this foreigner. They make the choice themselves. They go, we think that this Somalian who just got here a few years ago is more deserving of your hard-earned money than you are. Their interests are more deserving of the U.S. taxpayer fund pool than you are. And I think this is kind of getting to the point where most people are going, if this is the line, then we're done. And it should be. So Ohio's just going to blow up. figuratively again. But Ohio, it's gonna blow in Ohio. You have Casey and Vivek happening, and that's like a whole other element. That's like the Indian aspect with the H-1Bs. And then layered on top of that now is you're going to have, I would imagine, we already have been. I saw muckraker.com and a couple other people have already come out to Columbus. I'm going to see if I can actually get a hold of Muckraker. And they're already out covering it. And so coming into this, which I believe right here in 2026, it's right around the corner, you're going to have two major explosive stories, both revolving around the fact that it is an American versus non-American issue. Meanwhile, you get the framing Vivek, which is like, Americans versus, what is an American? And I do think the tell of what will happen in 2028, you'll be able to pick up a lot of, you're going to have a good idea of what 2028 is going to look like based on what's going to happen in Ohio. I think expect good things if Casey makes it through the flames and beats Vivek. I would say expect more of the same if it's like Vivek somehow still pulls it off and wins, which I really doubt that. Or expect the absolute worst if it is Amy Acton and you do, and neither Casey or Vivek pull through, so you don't get more of the same. You don't get the actual American candidate. You get the Democrat Jew who's a woman. And I mean, and then I think it's like, well, then it's just cooked. I think that is a foretelling that Democrats will just broadly sweep in 28. And we will all probably be facing the wall by 2029. And wildly enough, a lot of this does seemingly put us on track with Strauss-House generational theory, which would put, I believe, the fourth turning for this cycle on in 2027, which is, quite frankly, 1 year before 2028. And if this is the fallout we're having before we've even gotten through the first year of Trump's presidency, like, dude, are we going to make it to year 3? I really don't know. But it's not the black pill. It's to say, like, listen, we have to be honest with what is in front of us. We have to be very overtly honest with what is in front of us. And that's why I think it has to be said now, because I do think people probably should start considering what would be their consequences if the Democrats did come back. Like what things could very easily be pulled away that you're benefiting from a environment and climate that's a Trump endorsed kind of climate. So we will see. We will see. I have a good amount of hope that Nick Fuentes' generational run happened at just the right time, that perhaps we can get a lot of people on that train. But I sit here and I go like, what is the ramp? What ends this? How do we make it out? What survives this? And again, I go back to the question I've been asking and posing to you guys a lot too. And that's the thing. I think after this event, Nick Fuentes has already become a moderate. Some of the stuff I've been seeing online is like, people are done. I think I've already done a disservice by understating the contempt that can be felt online. You just go and scroll X for a few minutes. You can cut through it with a knife. People are not happy with the state of the country. The state of the union is abysmal. They want better. They deserve better. And the American people deserve to have their nation back. The American people deserve these immigrants and these non-Americans out of this country. They deserve justice. And I think you can only go so much longer without actually getting that cathartic release. And that's why I think it's got to be public. I think to help avoid getting these kind of maybe smaller, more unfortunate just bubble ups of like, vigilantism, which you're already seeing. There's videos popping up. A guy literally went to a grocery store, robbed it. Mexican guy did. A white dude chased him down, just smacked the bag out of his hand. I mean, it's going to move. It's going to jump from beyond there. Now, I would also say as a fair warning too to people in Columbus, I don't think the Somalians play like how they play in Minnesota. I think we've already seen in Columbus, they're treating it differently for two reasons. One, the Somalian crowd in Columbus, I believe, is a lot more deeper rooted. They've been here for longer. And I believe Columbus was a sanctuary city before Minnesota began its long form takeover. But also additionally, I think that word spreads, and if we're to believe that this is very strongly systemic and there's a very strong attachment to the ethnos and the families of the Somalian community, and it's an inter-community thing, I would imagine word travels fast. I would imagine the Columbus individuals already got the heads up a long time ago. And with that being said, I really hope I don't see it at all, but I do think people need to seriously be concerned if they are showing up at random Somali addresses in Columbus. It's not to say like it's just to say I really would hope to avoid any kind of instance of violence or anything like that, because then that would be what would overwhelm the story, and then that would be where it would go. It would go, well, did the reporter have the right, he was shot at for this. Well, he was trespassing, yet that's where it would go, unfortunately. I don't want to see that. Started in the 90s in Minnesota, interesting. So Columbus was after, which would make sense because Columbus is second. I think Minnesota it dominates the population. Columbus is, I've seen figures of around like 50K. There's no way. It's got to be higher than that. So hopefully Ohio's okay. And part of the reason, and one thing I kind of left off a little bit, is I do think one of the reasons why you're not seeing the FBI have the same level of conviction to want to seek this out and actually uncover it. Well, let me just point you to this tweet I saw from Chris Martenson. He calls it a uniparty issue. Let me put this up on screen for you guys. He says, surprise, it turns out the scams are a uniparty issue, explaining why the FBI have not been even slightly interested in shutting the fraud down. And what he's quote tweeting here is another one of these random coders who are publicly posting all over because they're trying to build this. And the website you're seeing in here is called Somaliscan.net. No, Somaliscan.com, which is a work in progress website with a lot of data coming out of it. So if you wanted to see that, it is Somaliscan with an N for .com. And so he's quote tweeting this. And one of the first things they see here is a child care center that received $2.5 million in PPP loans, donated 10% of that loan to the House Republican Committee. Now, granted, this might just be one of these pieces of the puzzle, and maybe it's not reflective of the same level in Democrats, but I would wager that probably is a portion of it. I would wager that these foreign programs, maybe it's with Indians. Maybe the Indians are the ones that are feeding into the Republicans, and the Somalis are feeding into the Democrats. I mean, maybe it's both sides. But I do think that question has to be asked, which is, if we've been having raids since 2015, it's been rampant for this long, and we've had people like even James O'Keefe put this much attention on it, where is the lack of actually getting this uncovered? I mean, supposedly the figure in Minnesota right now is 18 billion. I would imagine you're probably going to get a similar figure coming out of Ohio, probably somewhere around 10 billion, if that. I can't buy for 1 second that there is any actual hunger to seek out justice for these individuals. And the question would be why. And it could be very similar to what it was with the Epstein stuff. It's the fact that it's been foretold as like, oh, it's one party, whatnot. Maybe it's very similar to Epstein. Maybe both parties are involved. So neither want to touch it. Both want to let it be a political football to avoid, to touch, to talk about, to use, to stand upon as they exhibit and campaign for the next couple of years to do more of nothing. So maybe that's it. Maybe there's just as much as Republican fraud. Well, AIPAC for one. I mean, I think we already all understand that. But maybe it's worse than that. Maybe there's an India PAC, and you're getting a bunch of, maybe 7-Eleven is like one of the top donors in the Republican Party, and we don't know any of it because no one even bothers to care to look. And the people who are making the most money off of all the pundits and the influencers, the people, and what are they doing? They are just being mouthpieces for the administration. That's why I brought up Benny Johnson. There's no proactiveness. Why am I learning from? I don't even know who is this account, right? Like, who is this guy? And he's getting quoted by Chris Martenson. It's like, it's clear and obvious. Like, that is the nobody's coming to save us. It's like, you can't even expect that people are going to be giving you the news that is actually relevant to the context of the day, that is actually in a manner that explains things, that's honest, that's real. And again, you have Idaho, Maine, Massachusetts. I've seen it coming out of Utah. I've seen coming out of Washington. Systemic across the board. And it's just this major, just huge lapse of hope. And let's just go to some of these reactions, and then let's just show you. I'm not by myself here on an island here. Let's just show you what some of these reactions are. So just put it up on screen. We'll just fly through them real quick, okay? It's from Dennis Michael Lynch. And I believe this is the one that went mega viral. It is. Okay, so I don't know who this guy is. I'll be honest with you. I don't know everybody in the political system. Dennis Michael Lynch. He's got about 70,000 followers. Apparently he's got a bunch of stuff on Facebook. Sure. Okay, maybe he's solid. It says he's a newsbag guy, I guess. Top-rated Newsmax TV host. Okay, cool. I'll take that. Nice pendant to see there. It's nice to see the cross instead of a Star of David for once in my lifetime from a conservative pundit. This is what he says. He says, Dear FBI Director Kash Patel and President of the United States, with all due respect, per Nick Shirley's video, if Tim Walz and other officials aren't indicted on fraud, and if droves of Somalis aren't sent back to Somalia, then the rule of law is dead, and the mega promise is built on bullshit. And what you will see is this has about 2.5 million views and almost 200,000 likes. It's one of the more viral things I've seen on the right-hand side of Twitter. Here's what he says.
This is going to be the shortest video I've ever done in my life, based on what we've all seen in Minnesota. If tens of thousands of Somalis are not deported back to their third world country, and if government officials like Tim Walz and other people in Minnesota are not sent to jail or at least indicted, let me just say this. This administration, the concept of Make America Great Again, and for that matter, the rule of law, are all completely full of shit. Nothing else to say. Full stop. Case closed.
And that's it. Everybody's line is right here. Like the game, the jig is up. You know, to use a white lingo. I mean, it's over. And here's another one. This is talking about Civil Rights America. Another semi-viral tweet. 100,000 views on it. TLDR. The general sum of what we're finding out is that in Civil Rights America, only white people are expected to obey laws. Every other ethnic group is allowed their Indian gas stations, black PPP loans, Somalian daycare frauds, Chinese nail salon money laundering, and it goes on. Again, people I've not even seen before. The leg turn guy had maybe one of the most insane things I've ever seen. This is not even this tweet, but the leg turn guy, I believe in this tweet was where he got quoted this. I'd have to find it, to be honest with you. But he gets responded to. You can find it on my page because I quote tweeted the picture from the lectern guy. That in one of these, he says, it's funny. You go to prison defending people in hopes that they will arrest pedophiles and take down the deep state, and the best they can offer you is banger tweets, questionable, and 50-year mortgages. In one of the responses to this tweet, a 9D plan trusting, ever glazing of the Trump administration individuals, right? This Q-tard, whatever you want to call them, literally says to the lectern guy, maybe Trump should have left you in prison. Seems like you didn't learn your lesson. Like something to the, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but that was the point. Was like maybe Trump should have left him for dead because he's voicing his concern about the fact that like the Trump administration has completely 180'd. They pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. They are, quite frankly, in the most basic of sense, traitors to the American Republic. And the response from a guy who went to prison for it, showing his support, storming the Capitol there on J6, a response from somebody who's from his side, in his camp, who's supposedly taking their own side, says Trump should have left you in prison. That to me was, that by itself was that is more insane than anything to do with all the Somalian pride, everything combined together. If you right now find yourself in agreements with Trump, happy with the Trump administration, defending Donald Trump, I'm here to tell you right now you are retarded. I'm here to tell you right now you are either retarded or you're in on it. And I'm here to tell you right now the American people will not take it one more second. So either delete your post or continue to tell the world that you are a defender of the pedophilic elite, or more quite frankly, you are just simply too retarded to be capable of voting. And that's just kind of the line here. I think I might start getting annoying on X a little bit. I might, if I see any pro-Trump thing, and that's the funny thing. I've seen some already, and it's just so sad. Some of the defenses are coming out are just so sad and pathetic. It's like, just let the Dems win, dude. Like, let the Dems win. We don't have it. It's not here. Call it quits, dude. Let's scout the thing. Come on. Because we're not voting for this anymore. No, but Trump, you don't understand. The Q is coming. Okay, John Mappin. Okay. Okay. But it's like that, and that's the lectern guy. There's more coming. Daniel Concannon, who I don't really know too well, but he contrasts the current events with all of this happening right now. And we're begging the people who are in charge, who do have the ability to do something and who just simply aren't to do something. Shiloh Hendricks, because she said the N-word at a park because she was being based, quite frankly. She's still being charged. Shiloh Hendricks is still being charged right now, facing charges. I forget what the sentencing would be for those said charges, but she's still facing them many days after the incident. Once again, the two-tier system of justice showing its face, its ugly face, about how when it comes to white people, you will get annihilated. You better be on your P's and Q's, or they will violate you 6 ways from Sunday. They will make sure they make your children pay for the sins you committed. Ryan Selkis came out with a tweet, and he said, quote, "The level of chimp out that is coming from white taxpayers is approaching actual Civil War secession territory." It's been, hey, welcome to the party. Are the boomers finally getting on board? Are you listening now for the first time that we are not going to sit here and take your retarded Zio slop dog shit for one more second? Can someone gather the class? Can everyone here come here and we all can understand and sit here and go, hey, listen, we don't give a shit about your Social Security. We are being psychologically raped, physically violated, emotionally exploited, financially adulterated. Take all your problems and shove them. And then and on top of everything is just the natural loss of all of the general social decay, the social degeneracy. And one of these other sad stories that's kind of on top of everything at all, and it's not like it has anything to do, there's like really no direct connection to this at all, but it's just something I thought about in the way I had been absorbing the information, is you have this moment with Kai Cenat, who apparently got cheated on. He's like this big multi-streamer. He gets cheated on by his girlfriend. She goes and records the video like a day later, and it's like, I got what I wanted. She's like, that was the plan. I got my money and I got my fame, and now I'm just gonna, and she knows it. She knows some sad brother who's down bad. He's gonna eat it up. He'll pay for her to get her nails done, knowing she's a hoe. He's got no other options. Well, he does, but her, and society's convinced him that he wants this bad woman, this boss woman. That's a huge person. Kai Cenat. And so, and then shortly before that, what do you have? There's like this weird post from Tom Brady, who like posted, I believe it was like a montage of the song, to like photos, like on the day that like the anniversary of his wife or something like that. And so you have all this happening, you have all the fraud, everything like across the board. It's like you have no home, no family, no country. You can't even be white here. You're the lowest person on the totem pole. And on top of everything all, you can even be Tom Brady and Kai Cenat, and you will still be cheated on and abused by a woman, or manipulated, etc. And so understand, like, I don't think people are really grasping the strong connection that's building between, like, and quite frankly, I mean, Clav may give birth to this new generation of what may be the beautiful ones in utopia. This looks maxing seems to be the beginning of the trajectory of getting the beautiful ones, of getting a bunch of men who go, I don't even want to look good just to have sex. I just want to look good to Mog. Which is quite frankly describing the beautiful ones in the rat utopia experiments. The ones who wouldn't engage in anything. They just walked away from society and just stared at themselves all day. So, perhaps this is the end. And everything is just a sad, choking cough of a dying 250-some-year-old nation as it has reached its last legs. I don't want that to be the case. But sure as hell, voting ain't doing nothing to stop it anyways. So what are we going to do about it? Now there's another post talking about, in the reaction to all of the way that these leftists are talking about it, these liberals, Harry Sisson, the gay cheerleader for the Democrat Party, comes out and he was like, you know, and you would think Republicans don't care about fraud because like Donald Trump did all this fraud. It's like, dude, you are so painfully cucked and so painfully just indoctrinated. And it's sad too. Like I know a lot of people probably don't like Harry Sisson, but like he just makes me sad. And a lot of guys like that, like Dean Withers, Parker Get a Job, a lot of those ones. It's just like, it's sad, man. Like you are under some kind of spell. Like they have convinced you to betray your own race. Like in the Avatar, dude. Like they have somehow convinced you, despite everything that is so easily observable. Like you could just go outside and touch it, man. It's not hard to notice. And he pushes these lines, betraying everything that's in his own self-interest. And whether it's incompetence or malicious, I don't know, but it just makes me sad. You know, because part of me thinks like maybe there is an element in which he is just dumb enough to believe this. He's convinced to do it, and so he does. And then other parts of me do think that maybe he's in on it. He's malicious. She's benefiting off of it. He's making money, and where does he care? Now, some of the other stuff I wanted to play, I would, but it's going to make me crash out, is there's been multiple videos hitting and circulating from said Somalians in these communities mocking people. Now, a lot of them have been just like these face recordings, like one of these Somalians got in because like literally doing the meme, like my dick, like coming out and saying like, anybody caring about this, that you must be broke. Anybody who cares about the Somalian stuff, why are you pocket watching? You know, and they're doing like all the ebonics and stuff. And it's like, Now, the worst one that I saw was, I believe it was at a Home Depot. And at this Home Depot, you have these Somalians who take a bunch of money and they throw it in these white dudes' face. Saying, oh, is this why you're mad? Once again, I'm here to tell you right now, that moment occurs in literally any other moment in history outside the last 100 years. I'm telling you, either one, two, or all three of the individuals involved in there would have not lived to see the next day. And people just want to play around with this stuff. You know, it used to be considered honorable that if somebody would attack your people, your ethos, or your country, that they would, you would, there's something you wouldn't do because there's a threat of violence on the other side of that. And quite frankly, I do think that is a large reason of why society is not simply it's not just broken. It's that it's perverted, it's contorted, it's twisted. It's something, it's close to what it should be, but it's not. And we really always seem to struggle to figure out what that something is. Well, one of those things is, I think, the outsourcing of violence and masculinity in general, or a big one half of it, I would say, you know, to policing in general and to the government and to other authoritative bodies has been a very perverted way for America to behave and act. The same way, I think that with the development of women, and think of the super chat, I'll give 1 second, I'll address it. And the same way with women. And it's not to say like I think women should be like there should be violence against women at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but in every other portion in history, women knew they were on a tightrope if they ever talked out of line to a man. And even on top of it, no other man was coming to save them either, because not only was it not their concern, but they also agreed it's not the woman's place to raise her voice their concerns for the man, especially not publicly, and not to be disrespectful. So what does that do when you remove the disincentivization? There's no disincentivization to not do certain things. Or better yet, in this case of the two tiers of justice, what happens if a long period of time, over and over and over again, only one identity group is under the belief that they have to obey rules and they have to do things the right way, but every other group goes under the assumption that, you know, do now, pray for forgiveness later. I think we're seeing the results of that. Super chat here from Real Rain 89. He says, we can't complain about the problem if we're not going to run for office and bring the message to our communities, America first. Correct. And that's why anybody who is interested and wants the most basic of starts, that is why I interviewed Mr. Johnson a couple weeks ago. I forget what date it was exactly, but if you're looking for a start, Mr. Johnson himself did attempt running. Forgive me, I forget the state now. It's been a long day. But you can find that on my page on YouTube. It was the interview with Mr. Johnson getting involved. And we go through his video that he had made and designed with Mr. Dave Riley, another individual who had made headwaves, I believe, in Idaho, with his running and some of the points that he got across. And they break it down from like optics to messaging to charisma to, some of the more maybe basic things you need to be concerned about from having your, paperwork and how much it might cost to run. So if you do want to know and you're someone in the audience who's curious about that stuff, you can find it in that interview. And also you can find it under just Mr. Johnson's page in general, under his YouTube. And those links should be on that description still on that video. But I agree, we have to. Not only do we have to run, it's more than just running. It's about being present. It's about when instead of always seeing these videos where all of a sudden some like white woman is just getting thrashed around by a pack of rabid blacks, instead of recording the video, how about you let someone else record it and you go out there and you try helping that woman? That's the stuff that would really help. How about whites actually having the in-group preference, lock arms, and we have the actual in-group preference and protection that every other group has? Because here's another thing too. I saw again today, we're now people always going against Nick Fuentes, the infighting, it's nonstop. But now we're getting Chud the Builder versus Beardson Beardley. Who gives a fuck, dude? Like, do you see blacks doing this shit? Do you see blacks, every minor mistake another black makes, you see a bunch of blacks just jumping on them, being the first ones to bite it off and going, hey, they need to go. Are we not learning the lesson here? And I don't have to agree. I don't have to agree with Clav on everything. But I'm going to sit here and promote this brother as a certified wang half. Push it one more time. Be another brick being thrown at the window of the establishment. Just be this entity, right? And it's not to say I agree with everything that he does, but it's not to say like I'm not going to be one of the first ones who attacks him. We are far from being anywhere near close to needing to police our movement. We need the opposite of policing. We almost need provocateurs at this point. Like, find something else that will really piss people off. Let's keep this momentum going. How about we keep people angry for extended periods of time instead of just a couple of days? How about we make sure the news media cycle can't figure out something to come up with to reinvent the wheel so that next week we're talking about something that doesn't effing matter? And that's, I don't know, I'll be honest with you. I thought about saying something about women propaganda when that whole slapping thing was going on. But I didn't. You know why? I bit my tongue. It doesn't even care. It doesn't even matter. You know why? Because that's a white brother of mine. I'm not going to say nothing, dude. Unneeded, unnecessary right now. We are being genocided. I'm not going to even give a slightest bit of a finger or an attempt to help take down another white person, probably for the rest of my life. That's got to be the mentality. Oh, what they do wrong? Oh, they're white. Don't give a shit. Let's get these other groups started to take care of first, and then I'll listen to maybe what a white person has done wrong. But it has gone on far too long that white people are always going to jail for their charges. But the other way around, we only hear about the charges. We see their faces in the news media. Don't see them in prison. Agree or disagree? That's just where I'm at. I am locking down. So that's where I'm at. I didn't want to have to sit here and be a white identitarian, but man, we have to defend ourselves. At a certain point, it's got to be like, dude, this has to stop. And I'm losing my ability to even give rational reasons of like why we shouldn't move to that. Because it's overtly obvious. Like, again, like many people have stated and many people will continue to state, no one is coming to save us. And so with that, I think people do need to be concerned with, and especially just in the light of what happens in the 2028 year where Gavin Newsom wins the presidency. What happens, and are you ready for that? Are you ready to experience that? And this goes for a lot of creators and influencers too, who make a good amount of money off of this stuff. Myself included. Other people who might even be tangentially involved with it. Do you have a plan in place for when they come to jail you? Do you have a plan in place for when they come to ban you, to censor you, to take away your pet projects, to remove it? Do you have plans in place? Are you ready for that? Because it seems like that's what's coming. And so again, if you can think of anything or anybody who might have something that was maybe just only recently reversed by something that Trump had done, you'd be probably one of the first ones, man, to really be concerned that the next guy doesn't come in and immediately flip-flop it, because that's how a lot of these executive orders go. And we barely even talked too much about, the other states. We don't really need to get into the other states. I'll worry about Ohio. Hopefully the other people will worry about their states. We'll get more information coming from that. The cover-up being the other one, it's more of a cover-up, not from, Tiki Brown or whatever her name is, the Minnesota Department of Children Commissioner, saying like, oh, this has been closed down. Other Democrats coming out and saying like, it's holiday season. They're just shut down, actually. Hey, come on now. Only to be proven wrong literally the next morning because the Somalians are freaking out. So they're trucking people in like, hey, we need to have 102 kids by 8 a.m. And to be honest with you all, there literally should be no reason why Somalians are across the nation. We as a nation have to decide which state's going to have to deal with that problem. Because it's not going to, I'm telling you right now, whoever the next president is, my ask is that the foreigners get to pick one state, they got to stay there. Mexicans can have Texas. I guess they already got part of a claim there. Indians, I don't want anyone anywhere near me, but I know they're going to try to claim Ohio. Can't have it. Take Michigan. F Michigan. Somalians? Florida, maybe? Here's the thing, like that's not even a minor position. That's like me compromising, thinking of like, is there any way we can make it better? But that is the point. Like, why are there Somalians all across the nation? If we start finding out that there is Indian and Somalian operations happening deep Montana and Wyoming, we're gonna have our first flip the table moment on stream live on air. And just the fact that it's clearly been happening for extended periods of time. It's not just one state. It's not just Minnesota. This attempt to paint, walls is like he's like this clear purveyor of this whole big problem. It's just a lie. It doesn't get a whiff of a reaction. No one even is like, we're kind of, loosely aware that the Somalians are here and they're a problem. And there's probably some scummy stuff with Doge that they uncovered. But to this extent, federally too, not until one random guy. Not until one random guy. Is Idaho close enough? At this point, why don't we just, we should invade the smallest island ever and then just force them all there and then burn all the boats. All right, speed challenge, figure out civilization, speed challenge. You get bonus points if whoever figures out the wheel first. You guys have never done it yet. That's a good, that's the highest level. They shouldn't be here. And the whole thing, I think this is what it is. It's like no one can believe now at this point that the system's working in any kind of meaningful sense. And the over thing is like I don't want bad things to happen to other people. Right? Like I'm a Christian. Okay? I don't want terrible things to happen to people, even if they've done terrible things to me. What I simply want is what is already allowed and provided with God's word, which is how we can be as a nation, how we can actually stand for our own posterity. Having our own nation in government and programs that are for and by and of the people, not for by and of Indian immigrants, not for and by and of. And the worst thing of it all is they're calling Nick Shirley a right-wing extremist. Like, I'm sorry, if Nick Shirley's a right-wing extremist, then I am literally the second coming of Adolf Hitler. The immediate reaction from like the Krasensteins and other people that go, wow, this right-wing extremist, like he's being so racist. Dog, say that 2 more times, you will get racism. And it's just such an intellectually dishonest way to paint it. And one of the Somalians, I mean, reacting to Nick Shirley, like in the stream, he's going, you want us to put us in camps? What? I mean, no, that's a joke. But that's the first thing they jump to when he's asking things like, where's the paperwork for my little Joey? Like they respond, you want to put me in a camp? Is that because they're retarded? Or is that because they're retarded? Or is that because someone who's also retarded told them that that's what our true intentions are? Or are they just retarded? And so this is an indoctrinated group of people. And so you could put that up to blame for what has been socially permeating through society, which is, again, going back to this matrix of white people, this kind of this power dynamic, and that, you know, we're just the chief villains of history. And it's such a joke, but it obviously plagues and provides the sustenance for which the left feeds upon. And it continues these things. And it's disgusting to have to be a part of it. I really did talk a lot more about the Somalian fraud than I was planning on, to be honest with you. I didn't even realize I've been ranting for about 90 minutes now, which is kind of funny. So, with that being said, that is kind of like a point to be put there. And again, you know, and one other thing I'll go before I move to the next subject is they're using the clip in the statement of Nick Shirley of like, you know, we're looking for kids. Like there should be 102 children here. Like we don't see any kids. Like we're showing up. Now you have people like the Krasensteins and Hassan going out and being like, wow, they wanted to see kids. Like, ooh, wow. Like I wonder what he really meant by that. And it's like, typically the left has a really good kind of like, well, I hate to say really good, but typically an efficient way to kind of deflect or to get their crowd, their rabble rousers like behind what they're saying. And it ain't hitting at all. That is just the most intellectually dishonest framing of anything. And the worst part I would add too is seeing all of the beta males signaling online that they love Somalians, that they are racialized cucks to blacks. I hate it, dude. I think there's nothing that turns my stomach sour more than seeing a white man sit there and go, and I love Somalians. I would protect every black person on this planet. It's like, dude, calm down, dude. You're not a fucking hero. This isn't Hollywood. And you look like a fucking idiot. Like they think that you are a fool for this. Like they laugh at you. They poke fun at you. And they're probably honestly just waiting for their chance to do something to your wife and children. So like, it's not a flex. You look fucking retarded. And you're only adding more contagion and plagues to the next children who might see you and go, wow, that's a good idea. Or that might even be a good idea. It is a cancer. And the inability for white people to take their own sides is like, here, you want to be objective? Like, I think that is the flaw of white people. I think that is the flaw. I think the white liberal I think that might possibly be what the flaw of white people is that one of the weaknesses of whites is that they have an inability to maintain an in-group preference, clearly. And this is something that you can see across the board too. And now, granted, a lot of indoctrination has been globally too, but it's crazy, dude. Like you just see it and it's like, I don't get it. I'm here to tell you right now, I have no idea. I cannot understand it for the life of me. I don't, but it's clearly not all of us, you know, like it's clearly not all of us, you know. I don't know what to do with that, man. I don't. Moving on, though, away from the Somalian fraud, obviously, I don't really know if we're going to get much that's going to be decent with that or anything really substantive too much. We'll talk a little bit about the fact of more of this general Zionism and what's on the other side of it, what your president is doing. Yes, your president. He's not my president. No, that's how gay liberals talk. Donald Trump is not only is he calling for a pardon for Netanyahu, he's meeting Bibi Netanyahu for what seems to be, I think, their 8th or 9th time that he's going to be giving him roadhead on the way down too, you know, just all the usual. And Nick's prediction comes true. which Nick Fuentes' prediction back during the, I think it's just shortly before or during the 12-day war with Iran. He said before the end of 2025, we will be readdressing and revisiting this same subject. They will make a push for more war with Iran before the year is over. No joke. And here we are. And this is where we are. This is what's happening right now. We're getting this push for it. And now, and it's all happening and seemingly quietly so, that now the new line that Iran can't cross is now they can't continue their ballistics missile program. So now it's not good enough that they are not, they're not listening to the nukes. Now we're going a step even down further, saying not only can you not have nukes, we're going to tell you how many ballistic missiles you're allowed and what their capabilities can be. And if you cross these lines, well, we're not going to say no to Israel when they want to strike. And some people were making fun of Pete Hegseth. There's a photo going around. I'll show you. I think I have that one in here. Literally was like the happiest Pete Hegseth has looked like his entire life. It's kind of crazy. Let me put this on screen for you. It's from Kurt Mills. I don't know who that is, but it was a funny caption. The happiest Hegseth has looked in a year. I wonder why that is. Now, and another side story to this too, which is kind of insane, is that Netanyahu is going to be working with Elon Musk. And the caption of the article was to catapult Israel into a global leader in AI technology. And that's crazy. So Israel, the supposed leader or one of the leaders in this intelligence, right? In terms of we get all this Israeli technology and they have all this really high-end, military technology. They sought out who? Elon Musk to help them work with AI technology, which is a bit odd given the fact that it feels like all that Elon Musk seeks out is Indians. So why didn't Israel go to India? Wouldn't they have a better bet of and especially in the current environment with all the ass that they're making to America? Wouldn't you expect that they would go to India, where all the top 1% engineers in the world are? That's what Elon told me. That's what Veg told me. And so no, it's a joke, and it's more of this continual, just complete deference, continual help and capitulation. And it goes back to what I had said before, I think it was a couple of streams ago, with the announcement that they're investing $115 billion, Israel is, into developing their own independent arms industry, because they can see the writing on the wall. They're going to have to begin to start being able to produce this stuff on their own if they're not able to get it from America. Oh, what's that? Another betrayal. The United States subsidized an $8.6 billion purchase for 35, I think it's F-15 jets for Israel. That is 100% taxpayer funded. I kid you not. So it won't stop. It keeps coming. It's a train that won't stop. But this is from Dominic Michael Trippi. I'll put it up on screen for you. He says, we also just subsidized another $8.6 billion in fighter jets to Israel, and nobody even said a word about it. Truly unbelievable how harshly we have been sold out and betrayed. It is truly shameful. And so he has right here, the entire purchase of the 25, not 35, my bad. He says the 25 F-15IA jets is effectively 100% subsidized by U.S. taxpayers through the Foreign Military Financing, or the FMF Aid Fund. Here's a breakdown based on official announcements and reports. And so it just explains how they got the Pentagon. That's hilarious. The Pentagon, dude. Wow, that's genius. It's not the Pentagon. It's the Pentagon. That's funny, dude. Someone's had to have said that before. But the news came because the Department of Defense awarded the contract. And that's why the headlines are coming out now. Pentagon, dude. That's actually funny, man. And so you just have this all occurring, all happening all at once. And it's contrasting the Somalian fraud. And so people are looking well, what's Trump doing, right? All the Somalian fraud, what's Trump doing? What's on the other side of this? Where's the president? Oh, he's under the desk. Oh, well, wipe your mouth, Trump. Wipe your mouth, Trump. You're on camera. As he stands up and fastens his tie, wipes his mouth, the corner of his mouth, as he stands next to Netanyahu. And it's kind of funny because it might not be the actual Israel issue itself. The straw that broke the camel's back might be the fact that Somalian fraud was blown overboard by some random YouTuber, and maybe that is the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's the outside circumstance that makes the rest of the house of cards fumble. Possibly. It feels that way. It feels that this is probably, in terms of just seeing just people who are typically ardent MAGA supporters, or people who typically keep their mouths shut and don't want to incur any infighting, are coming out and saying that they're done. Like this was it for them. Decoupling from Israel is at this point a base level, like shouldn't even have to tell you twice, ask from an American. It is a base level. We don't need to ask you one more time. You know what to do. If we have to tell you what you should be doing with Israel in our relationship to them, you are not fit for office. Simple as. That's the line. And one other thing I would point to too, while we're wrapping up here at the very end of this, is Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes got into it again, which you would consider this like round 3, although this hasn't gotten any video responses, and I don't imagine any will be coming soon, maybe unless we get one from Candace Owens. And that is off the back of the fact that Alex Jones, which he's just on one anymore. You know, I love the guy for what he is. It's hard to tell where he is, you know, in modern day. But besides that, he declared war on Candace Owens, called her, I believe, specifically, quote, a globalist agent. And I believe he was incurring or making kind of insinuations that she might be attached to MI6, etc. And so Candace Owens, in one of these random tweets, gets a reply from Nick Fuentes. And so we start from the top here. I'll kind of give a brief breakdown. But the initial tweet was from Candace. And she was responding to that claim from Alex Jones, who had basically said, you know, her husband's a part of MI6 and she's a globalist agent, and yada, yada. To which Nick replies to that tweet from Candace, and he asks, like, so what is your relationship with John Mappin, who is this, you know, avowed Scientologist? He's like this QAnon guy. He's insane, you know, and it just telling you, look up John Mappin rap and try to listen to it. You'll sit there and go, dude, this guy's a loon. But he asked multiple times, and it's a series, and he's asking over and over, what is your relationship? And she doesn't answer. She gives these weird answers, forgive me. She gives these weird answers of like, well, basically Nick goes, so what is the nature of your relationship with John Mappin? And she goes, well, I last saw him about a year ago. Okay, but what is the relationship though? I didn't ask like, when was the last time you saw him? Like, what was the relationship? And she's like, okay, my gosh. She was like, the last time I saw him, we had dinner and it was like in November of 2024. What's your problem? And he's like, bro, you're not answering the question. To which she eventually finally gives like this super just snippy response of like, we're friends, Nick. Married couples have friends, other married friends. You wouldn't know that because you're not married, Nick. You incel, Nick. You virgin, Nick. And it's like, what? So she has this moment, and it was just a really rough look, but he continues on, and it does kind of give it's odd. It's odd because Candace has claimed multiple times, and not like I care about this, but these things are going to come to light now that people are second, and they're cross-examining everything that she said related to Charlie Kirk. Now, a lot of it's looking poor, especially with Mitch Snow and a lot of other of her cronies, if you will, you know, turning their back on what she was saying, Bahala VFT, Evan Kilgore, Morgan Ario. And what she said at one point in time was actually that it was John Mappin who had, well, I don't know if it was ever she said it, but John Mappin has multiple posts where he talks about how he was the one who had match made for Candace and George Farmer. Then people began to realize that there's clips that Nick had put out himself of Candace Owens and Piers Morgan saying, actually, no, it was Russell Brand who match made for us. You can find Instagram posts of Russell Brand literally verbatim, God, I cannot talk today, verbatim saying, oh, look, I love the couple that I match made for. You know, and Candace, I believe, referred to Russell Brand as their Cupid. And then in response to Nick, what she's saying is she omits entirely that Russell Brand is even there. She says it wasn't John Mappin who got George and her together, or who match made for her and George Farmer. It was Paul something, I always forget his name. It's like Paul something Walker, who's a former InfoWars host, or he might still be affiliated with InfoWars. And so it's like, is it this person? Is it that person? Is it this person? And he's just drawing the point, which is like, it's very odd that you just have this relationship kind of spring up out of nowhere. Supposedly it was brokered by Charlie during her periods with Blexit, wanting to speak in front of people. But then when she does, she speaks at like, I think it's called like the Royal Auto Center. It's like a very luxurious, like private members club that she speaks at, even though when she's talking about it, she's like, it's a very small event. No one cared. And Nick's bringing the receipts the whole time. And it is just curious. It's like, what is the nature of this relationship? I mean, it already is odd. You hear the way that she talks about it. She's like, yeah, I met him and we were making a baby at Terminal 5. It's like, what? That's not normal. It's not normal for people to just like get married within a week or two of knowing each other, especially like who aren't across state lines, but across like national lines, and like are met by weird people who they literally had only been met by a couple of days ago from people who aren't even that close to. It's like the whole thing is like, it doesn't make much sense. And then you have all these holes, and obviously it's going to be brought to light because of all of her investigations and all of her claims that are clearly either one, being just provocative in nature, or two, are being met with clear debunking. And then this is coming from people's general distaste of the way that this kind of Mitch Snow thing has been going on. And it's just a joke. It's just more of this kind of weird infighting, but it continued from there. And Candace Owens is kind of now in this very rough spot. And I'll be honest with you, like, it is rough. Harrison Smith, somebody who I've always found to be very, very cordial, collected. Maybe I wouldn't look to him for any kind of very strong and robust opinions on masculinity per se, or Christianity for that matter. But, and he may take offense to that, but I'm only being honest. But he's a very strong and typically level-headed individual, and he always has generally maintained a strong, pushback towards Israel and just any kind of general New World Order type shit. Well, he gets into an argument with Candace Owens. And many of you might not see this because Candace didn't do it on YouTube. She chose to do it on a space. And for why she did that, I don't know. I can only assume it's because she knew she would get pushed. I think she chose an avenue that would get the least amount of eyes on it. So what I would encourage many of you to do, I wish I would have had more time to do it today. And I'll explain the gist of it. But there's a 9-minute segment where she actually lets Harrison Smith come on. And when they do, Harrison Smith starts pushing and cutting through all of the things that he sees with Mitch Snow. And he just asked her point blank. And it's funny because the space was titled, "Why does this Fort Hawaka Waka, whatever it's called, suddenly matter?" But that's the question that Harrison Smith asked. Why does this matter? And she seemingly like struggles to connect the dots. She has this weird kind of back and forth over Erica Kirk was there, but it doesn't insinuate anything. And Harrison's just like, listen, like it's clear and obvious, like what you're insinuating and what you're trying to push. You can say it all you want. And she's getting all these weird clips in there. She's like, well, if you're going to say that, Harrison, say I, Harrison Smith, am saying that. And it's all this just kind of like just weird rhetoric. And I think what you're beginning to see is the beginning of the end of what Candace is. And the spiraling is probably going to get a lot worse from this, especially when you see somebody like Harrison Smith take up the mantle and show up to the space and go, let's do this. Let's tackle this. Let's dismantle this. And let's go ahead and go at it. And I say that because he's, again, one of the more level-headed individuals. I wouldn't have expected him. And they get into a little bit of a tiff because Harrison Smith was early referenced on, especially in the beginning, by Candace because of one of his statements about when someone who is close to Charlie had came to Harrison, telling him that Charlie had confided into the friend that this individual had feared that there was a threat going to be made on Charlie's life. And so they get into a little bit of tiff, and then I think it was earlier this morning today that Harrison Smith let it be known that he was contacted by the FBI to finally follow up with whatever that tip was. And again, I think that just once again shows the pure reactive nature of what the FBI is. There's no real direction or directive in the FBI. They're basically being whiplashed from one direction to another, following up on whatever, case is being floated out in the New York Times or whatever that day. And it may be like the worst scenario of all might be the fact that what if nobody, right? What if we're all fighting, everyone's fighting, metaphorically, we're all clawing, we're in the back of this airplane, we know the airplane's going down, and we're all clawing to figure out who in the hell is flying this thing, who is in the cabin flying the plane. And the worst answer of all might literally be that it is just literally nobody. The worst answer of all might be like, actually nobody. It's purely all just directive of donors. And it's just blind directive from donors to wherever the money is telling them to go. And maybe that means there's nobody flying, but there's 1,000 hands on the steering wheel. Maybe it just means there's literally nobody there at all. But it is just terrifying to see that the way the FBI is acting. But obviously, if you were to do anything, I mean, hell, dude, throw a penny at Dave Portnoy. Tell me how it goes. Tell me how quickly Kash Patel flies his private jet over there to tell you how it is. It's rough, man. But I think that's probably where I'll go ahead and put an end to it. That is where I will pin it. I want to make sure I covered everything beyond just the general Zionism and all the everything else. One other smaller story that seemed to be making the rounds, it's in the trucking industry, but maybe less so tied to like just general Somalian fraud, is the fact that that apparently USPS is allowing non-domiciled CDL drivers, which is just another way to say that they're allowing people who are illegals to drive trucks across the country. It is a joke. And whoever is allowing this to these people to drive who are named Aya Shamar Holasinin, they need to be thrown in prison. Anybody who had oversight over anything in the fraud from all these places, throw them in prison. Or hell, deport them with these people back to Somalia. But that's the only thing that's going to help. Is the only thing that will help the kind of just general feeling and the feeling of the union and the feeling of the direction of this nation from the people, we the people, is actually seeing evildoers and crime doers receive the justice they should be receiving, especially in the temporal sense. Not in this just like, oh, like, well, there's only so much we can do, just give it to God. Okay, well, if that's the case, man, stop going to Africa with food in your hand. It should be the other way around. It should be like, hey, dude, hey, listen, feed this brother. No, shh, he's close to God, let him go. Right? Because if God wins in the end, what's the point of helping the starving African? If God wins in the end, right? And this is kind of a point that I wanted to make a bit more broad, probably at the beginning, but I'll save for at a later date. But this is the gist of it. There has been an entrance of nihilism inside the Christian faith, and that is an element of it. That is one of the wings of it. It is do nothing here on earth because God wins in the end. Okay, then nothing matters, and I'm not going to raise a hand for you. Do you think this is how, this is how God acted? Or, do you think that's how Jesus like told people to behave? That there's no duties here on earth? That there's zero things of significance here? Why are you donating a crate of food to Africa? They're about to meet God. Don't ruin that for them. It's funny how the logic only flows one direction. Helping whites and Christians in America rehold their nation. No, stay very far away from that. That's what the devil wants you to do. Dumping boatloads and boatloads of food, extending the suffering of poor Africans in random countries in Africa. Yes, good. Do more of that. It's so on its face, just simply retarded. And it goes to show, and this is kind of more the contextual stuff as well too. Like the context of, how like, and now if I say F you, or like the middle finger here in America isn't the same thing as the middle finger or an F you in another country. There's different signs and symbols, and we like you are in the same time zone. Hell, people call it pop, soda, and cola, and we're all in the same time zone. Just depends on if you're north or south. But most people here got hoodwinked into thinking that turn the other cheek means exactly what it means in the modern American sense. Yeah, that's exactly what Jesus meant when he said it. He was referring to the American slang of what it means when you turn the other cheek. That's exactly what he meant by that, actually. There was no difference. It's held that meaning for 2,000 years. It did. It meant the same thing. And that's what I mean. It's like we're so far behind. We are, at the end of the day, it's like politics is gesture, but it's more than just politics. At the end of the day, like the general public is all just a bunch of kindergartners pretending they're adults. So we're not much better anyways. Hell, most people will go around pretending their marriages are good and they raise children that love them. They don't have that. They have to live vicariously online, pretending their lives aren't broken and miserable. And maybe that's the real crux of the problem. Is we have a strong habit of pretending, of acting. That's where I'll leave it. I won't go too much further. I've ran it already too long, and I've literally probably barely put anything on screen besides my own face. And for that, I apologize. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Christ is King, as always. Seek first the kingdom of God. And I love that because my parents got me a nice emblem with that exact verse on there. I love it. Jail and deport Cash Patel. Jail Pam Bondi. And man, women need to be ran out of public office, ran out of any kind of public positioning. And I do very humbly ask and pray that we get our country back, but I am not feeling good about it right now. That's not the black pill, and it's not to say give up hope, but it is to say we need to be very honest and we need to be pragmatic and realistic with what is going on and what our future holds. But with that, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Probably won't see me until next year. Appreciate you all, and stay safe. And Lord willing, we will have our nation once more. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ